Okay.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Welcome
Happy
back to
New
the
Year.
podcast. Yes, happy New Year. It is the first day of 2023, and I guess we've gathered here to talk about the year that has passed. But first, I'm Michelle. I guess put a name to the face, and then we have Isabelle. She is on my right, to my
Oh,
right, I suppose.
okay.
And today we have a very special guest with us. We have Joanne.
Is she at
Yay.
the bottom? No,
Yes,
she's
she's
here.
at the
Oh,
bottom. Correct. She's at the
I'm like
bottom.
here.
But yes, she is I mean, I'll let Jo introduce herself in a second, but she is that friend that we keep talking about that has thrown us really, really good questions over the years, and we enjoy the questions that she poses to us, even though she never has an answer and she's always the last one to
Yeah.
answer.
this is her chance to answer all the questions.
But yeah, before that, I think we are really here, today to talk about, how 2022 has gone. It's the year of, restrictions being lifted, at least here in Singapore. Travel has resumed, so life feels a bit normal, but I think, we don't really want to forget the lessons that, the year has taught us, and we just don't want to get too carried away, right? Like quickly going back to like the normal routine and not being changed by whatever COVID or whatever the year
Mm.
has taught us. So that's what we're here to do today. But before that, Joe, do you want to tell everyone about yourself?
Okay. So hi everyone. I'm Joanne. Thanks for having me. It's like I'm honored to be the first guest of the podcast and on the first day of the new year. Yay. But yes, I'm actually how I know Michelle and Sabi is through university, and we have quite a few. And we have actually many mutual friends, and I think Singapore is pretty small. So in church community and in university, and then I think how this whole like conversation also start that is it's just I guess it's also my curiosity to understand like people better, and I'm always quite curious like, oh, how are people doing. So I kind of ask many different questions, but yes, I'm always the last to answer. So yes.
You are the one who inspired this podcast.
Yes.
That's why you answer first.
Oh my, I love it. Okay, so in a true Joe fashion, I suppose, I guess this conversation will not be complete if we didn't let Joe ask us some of
Ooh.
these reflection questions. So a little bit of context. Of course, we have written down some points, but we don't know what each other like, have to share. Very
Yeah.
organic, very chill, almost exactly what you will get when like you're gonna get a taste of what it feels like to have Joe ask you her curious questions.
No stress.
No
No
stress
stress.
at
I think
all.
we might just have a what a silence, 10 minutes of silence to think about our answers.
It's fine. Silence sitting and reflect.
But yeah, Joe, feel free to take it
Yeah.
away.
Hey, I'm excited to ask a lot of these questions. So since we are in like the first day of the new year, I think we kind of have to reflect a little bit on 2022. So before we kind of go into what we want for 2023, curious to find out like, is there a word or a phrase that y'all can actually describe your 2022 with? Yeah, and just share with us. Maybe Michelle can go first.
Oh, you're not going first?
I will go last by tradition
Okay,
for this one.
sure. I think for me was the word was unrecognizable. Uh,
Mm,
I think in many um like points this year I felt like I couldn't recognize myself in
mm,
terms of the way that I think, the way that I act, maybe even the way that I speak or like just approach certain
mm,
situations. And um I mean like a continuation of that would be just simply that I just felt like I was living life very differently. Just nothing that I've ever imagined. Yeah, like really, I just felt like I went through an entire overhaul. So I don't really recognize who I am. And yeah, with just so many things that happened last year, sorry. um, yeah, it's just been difficult to wrap my head around. But it's been a fruitful year, uh,
Mm-hmm.
in some sense, but it's very, very new to me. Like in my 20 plus years of living, I just feel like that, not that, it's like cancel out, not that it doesn't mean anything, but it really feels like I've really started like something
Mm-hmm.
completely new.
Right.
So a very interesting feeling, I suppose, but
Nice.
really, really just nothing that I've ever experienced before.
Wow. Seems like a very, very eventful year, which I'm quite curious to find out what more in 2022. But before we go to the next few questions, how about Savvy? Oh yeah, we call her Savvy. Yeah, that's how people know her as well.
Yes, we call her Savvy.
Yeah, you guys are really the last group of people who are still calling me that. Um, I think my experiences with Michelle in 2022, I mean the lessons that we learned seems to be quite similar from what we have been sharing during our separate catch ups. But I think for me, my word for last year would be self discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think because over the past year, I spent a lot more time like on my own, just like for example, I picked up reading, right? So I spend a lot of time like reading out about things, whether it's like something that I'm curious about or things that I want to grow in. And also I think there were events like in 2022 that, actually gave me like new perspective in life. I think we can share more about it later.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm.
so yeah, I think it's like a lot of these things that have happened throughout the whole year that made me help me to see like a different side of myself, which I think I've never known. So it's kind of like learning to get to know about myself more
Yeah.
over the past year. Yeah, so it's quite eventful too, I would say.
Yeah. It's like, peeling the layers,
Yeah.
finding out about more of yourself.
And it's like, cause I mean, I was 29. I mean, I'm still 29, but it's like 29 years of life, and it's just so amazing that there are still things that I don't know about myself.
Mm,
Mm.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
What
that's
about you,
true.
Joe?
Me, yeah, for me it was more. Okay, I wouldn't say it's like for me it wasn't a new or eventful thing, I would say. But I think the year has been a lot on kind of showing me different uh, events of time, like time in terms of um, whether is it like somebody's birth, somebody's death, or somebody's like my own transitions at work. I think time tells. So I would say time tells. Whether is it a season that you're going through, and for me it was more of like as the year goes by, it kind of further supports what I come to observe and come to realize that sometimes it's really finding sort of the right timing, and there's no need to rush certain things, and
Mm.
kind of yeah, and I think time itself tells and shows a person as the person grows lah. So for me it wasn't like anything spectacular, but yeah.
Huh? That is so deep.
Yeah.
So deep. See, this is why we needed Joel on this podcast. I'm like, wow, like time tells.
And there are
Wow.
so many nuggets of wisdom from that few minutes that she just shared.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say yeah, it's like you kind of it feels like time is your friend and you're like learning to live together with this friend.
Mm, mm,
Uh, I can't
Yeah.
wait. I can't wait to hear more from you, Joel. But yeah, since you threw me the ball first, I will
Uh-huh.
throw it back to you.
Sure.
Um, maybe I don't know. I'm sure there were many moments from the past year that were like, whoa, I don't know, groundbreaking,
Mm-hmm.
sticks in your mind? Like, you guys, like what was something that I guess yeah, memorable is a good word, but whether it's it positive or negative, just something that impacted you and was like almost like a pivotal event moment in your life. Yeah.
Uh, I think for me is yeah, I think for me I like to climb mountains. So I climbed Mount Rinjani last year. Yeah, so I think for me that I went to the summit and I also kind of traveled through Europe in the mountains. So for me it wasn't like more of a technically every year if you go in mountains it's mountains, right? But I think last year when I submitted it felt very like, oh, finally I could get out of Singapore and see nature and creations. And I think when I was climbing, I think it was also learning a thing about myself, like patience, or is it like, okay, I have to keep going, and then I cannot
Mm.
get behind. So it was more memorable because I get to then see the sunrise at the top, so and it was beautiful. So that was really like memorable, lah. Like, whew, so pretty. Yes, that's one that's a moment. Yeah, but yeah, there were many moments along the way, but I think that was like
Of course.
it's like picturesque kind of like, oh, nice.
Like
So
the
nice.
the 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 visual is like seared in your brain forever.
Yeah, it's like orange, yellow, red,
Oh,
sunrise, trees, and then yeah, like the wind, that kind of thing. So so it was unforgettable.
Oh yeah, that's a good word. That's a good
Mm.
word.
I
Sebby?
could already imagine. I could already imagine like that sunrise scene in my head.
Yeah,
Oh man, I can't wait for another one climb.
Oh,
Um.
yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
A
Is this a
climb
shout
is
out for
coming
our?
soon. Yes. It's a shout out for you guys.
whew,
Oh yeah. So okay, this is so random because I was like going to share about my memorable event, but shout out is that Joe and I are gonna try the Mount Everest base camp in
let's pray that we
April.
will make it.
Actually, Joe, on that note, we should start planning our training.
Yes, we will.
It's first Jan already.
You have 4 months.
Oh, time's gonna fly.
Time tells.
Okay, time tells.
You're telling
Wow,
me
there are so many events in 2022 though.
like which ones
I'm
are
sure.
unforgettable and
Yeah, actually,
memorable.
the
Yeah.
first thing I thought of because I'm looking at a coffee cup right now, and I'm like, in 2022, I became a coffee drinker, which I thought I would never drink coffee. Yay!
Welcome to the club.
And I've been called a coffee snob already, so I think I'm
Get
okay.
escalated.
Yeah, I think a memorable event in 2022. Okay, there are two key ones. I'm gonna leave one of them for the next question. So I think the first key event that was memorable or like I would say life changing if I can put it that way is actually like my trip to Bali. So besides like it being the first trip out of Singapore since COVID 3 years ago, right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, it is also out of the norm for me because I mean I've always been to Bali like every January like as my recharge or like resetting for the new year, preparing myself for the new year. But this is the first time that I went to Bali with a friend.
Mhm.
And the interesting thing is that we had no plan. So what we did at the start of 2022 last year was we just booked the flight and the accommodation and we're like, okay, let's buy faith, we can travel in December. And we did. And when December come, we still didn't have plans. So I think we were talking about previously that I'm actually like a planner myself, like a perfectionist. So when I plan out my own schedule on a day-to-day basis, it's also like, okay, I wake up at 6, I will do this, I will make my coffee, read a book. At 7, I will go to the gym. So I think I actually pack my calendar like that. And
Mhm.
I just have to make sure that I have something to do at every minute of the day. And even if it's like a block off like me time, that is something to do for me. So it is very unusual that I'm going on a trip without with
Anything
zero plans.
Mhm,
Like
mhm,
we don't know where to go, we don't know where to eat and all those stuff. But I think at the same time it became very enjoyable because we like some of the days we just like okay wake up we don't know where to go, so we just walk down the streets. And because of that I think we came across like interesting places that are not even like popular, but they turn out to be very good with like good food. And we met like some strangers whom we have like good conversations with. So I think
mhm.
um this is like the first time that I was so spontaneous in my life. Almost 3 decades of life, and I think I love it because I think it's also like this whole element of letting like life surprises you instead of always like okay having things goes your way, right? Like
Mhm,
so, like I think the lesson learned for me was to keep room for like things in life,
mhm.
yeah, because we don't know what's gonna come, whether it's like good or bad. Mm,
Wow, so
yeah.
many things to pack in one.
Wow. So many learnings. Very good, very good.
Yeah.
Um, well, I think for myself, um, I guess a bit of context, which is that I don't know if it's common for you guys or like for people in general, but I've never really hung out with a large group of friends that
Mhm,
somehow could all click. And
mhm,
I think since y'all talk about trips, mine is also kind of trip related.
mhm,
In that earlier in the year, I think through a work program that I was on, I made a group of friends. I made friends with a group of people. Um, my goodness, I can't English. It's the first
I made a
day.
group of friends. Oh, yeah. Oh my.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
yeah.
I met a
We
group
get what you mean.
I met a group and we became friends, and it's honestly like one of like the greatest memories for me from last year was just going on a little 2 day 1 night trip to Johor
Mhm,
Bahru with them. And like you would think like 10 people, like there's bound to be like cliques, or like there's bound to be someone who doesn't want to hang out with someone. But I was just so pleasantly surprised that we all got along. Like nobody cares who sat next to who at the dinner
mhm,
table. We would just make conversations. It's yeah, so
mhm.
and we were all staying in like one Airbnb. We had like, tons of fun, games. We even like celebrated birthdays, even though, we only know these people for like what, 6 months? Yeah, and I don't know, but that was one of like really like the most memorable moments somehow, because I don't know, it was just so heartwarming to have so many people in one place, and that we all enjoy each other's company. And we
It's very
just
rare.
all had, yeah, and we all still hang out. I think like up to this point, I think every month after the program ended, we actually had one meetup like, per month.
Wow.
And all
I
10 will show up.
not all 10, but even if it's three
Oh,
of them, like they would just go. And like
Wow.
you don't really have to think, am I close to this person or not? Like it's like, oh, if I'm
right.
available and there's this activity going to happen, do I like it? I like it, I go. And
Mhm,
I don't think, I mean, I can't speak for everyone else, but at least for me, I'm like okay to just hang out even if it's two, three people, and we just
Mm.
enjoy each other's company. We
yeah.
help each other a lot. Like it's so rare, I think, at this stage in life to make friends, let alone like 10 friends
Yeah,
in the
and you
same
guys
group.
met. You guys met at work, right?
Yeah, we met. Well, I mean, granted, honestly, we felt a bit like kids, like in a theme park or something, because we knew that it was gonna end at some point. And I guess sometimes, oh, lesson. Sometimes when it's very short-lived, I think you just make more out of it. Like when you know that there's an end to it. Yeah,
Mhm,
and
Yeah.
so, but it just continues to amaze me how close we are till today. And I really just never knew that at this age we could
mhm,
still have close friends like that, like
Mm.
make close friends like that. And I don't know, I love people, even though I'm an introvert, but I love people that I can be like myself with, and I'm just so happy to have found a group of friends at this
Mm-hmm.
age.
Wow.
Yeah.
For you, like at least it's something that you treasure. It's like very precious kind of friendships that it's hard to come by.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Oh,
sure.
to it.
And it's such a
Yeah.
big group. So unheard of.
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
Nice.
Wow. But yeah, learning points. I think we talked a little bit about the stuff we learned, huh?
Mm-hmm. Wow,
Yeah.
we did. With the
Any
last.
and any interesting things that the year has taught you? I mean, I know for Sebi, no, let life surprise you, but yeah. Any one thing that kind of like struck you this year that you're like, oh, like I wouldn't have learned it like anywhere else.
It threw me off.
I threw you off because it's not in the
Oh no,
script.
as in the part of like let life surprise you, but then life threw me off. But yes, your question too.
Wow.
I think it would be my second memorable event. And even though using the word memorable is a little strange for this one,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'll call it like maybe a lesson learned from the year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's I think the lesson that I got was quite similar to what we have shared earlier, which is I think like life is fleeting, so like you treasure the time that you have and basically like seize the day, right? So I think in the past year it was quite challenging for me in a sense that like I lost my dad and like a close friend due to various like health and accident reasons in a matter of like what 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they all happened too sudden, too quickly, and too short a time span. So I think it shook me quite a bit because I was just thinking like like as I'm preparing to step into like my 30s, like at our age in our 20s and or in our 30s we are supposed to be like attending weddings or even like going to the birthday parties of our friends kids, right, like their first birthday party or something, and
Mm-hmm.
not like attending funerals and or even learning how to cope with grief. Like this whole concept of grief, it's like okay, this is a whole topic on its own, but
Mm-hmm.
um I think my point on that is that like we'll never know when our last day is. So I think over the past few months, it also made me like learn how to treasure like time with loved one more, um, and really learning to how to seize the day. And I remember there was this one day, it was very random, but I just like sat down and decided to just send a text to all the people that I love to say that I love you, like I love them, or even like apologize for some of the petty things, or like the petty arguments, yeah, just so that just in case because we don't know when our last day is, right? So just in case, like their memory of me will be like a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think wow, I have to learn this lesson, this important lesson in an unfortunate hard way. But
Mm-hmm.
I think right now my perspective to life is really making the full use of not making the full use, like maximizing my time that I have, regardless how long it is, and really just live life to the fullest. Yeah. And I remember this quite vividly. It's like during my trip to Bali. I remember this morning, I think it's like 5 a.m. or 6, I think 5 a.m. because I think the sun rises quite early in Bali. I don't know why. But basically, it was like 5 a.m. and I just walked out to the balcony of our apartment And because we were staying at this place like right next to the sea, so we just look out the balcony to the sea, and I just saw like this whole group of people are happily surfing, and they are already having the time of their life at 5 a.m. And I'm like, wow, like these guys are, they know how to live their life. And I think that morning I was just sitting there on the balcony and I journeyed down um this point, and I just want to remember it forever. And actually it's not even like when it comes to seizing the day, I think I always have the impression that okay, I have to achieve like big things, right? I have to achieve XYZ in my life. That means that I'm living life to the fullest. But I think that day it changed my perspective, because living life to the fullest does not mean that I do the big things. It can even be like, you know, doing the small things, the things that you enjoy, even if you are like sipping a cup of coffee in your room, like watching the sunrise. I think that is seizing the day to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think my perspective of that have changed too.
Wow,
Yeah.
I love that.
How
True.
much is that?
Seize
It's
the
like,
day. Like,
but oh, I love that. Um, I feel like, sorry, I'm gonna like sidetrack a little because I feel like I like how you talked about like maximizing like the time that you have
Mm,
by filling it with like the little things. I think
mm,
that is, how should I put it? Um, I am someone who loves to be productive, and like you, I'm a planner. I write down a lot of things, but I realize that yeah, so I try to maximize my time, right? But I realized that that has left me very
burnt out.
how should I put it? I wouldn't say burnt out, but like I'm trying to do way too much. Like I'm just overextending myself,
Mm,
um and I can't remember where I read this, but this productivity gurus on YouTube and all
oh,
of that,
yeah.
and they all have like different methods, right? But I think the one thing that I was trying to sort of internalize this past year was that it's okay if I don't hit all these things, and
Mm,
maybe I shouldn't even be writing so many things to achieve in one day. Like
mm,
one maybe main thing is like good enough, but
mm,
as you were talking about it, like like seizing the day with just even having time to sit down, watch the sunrise with coffee, like honestly to me that doesn't even sound like a thing I'll put on my checklist. Like
mm,
why would I add that to my checklist of things to achieve? But I feel like that is really like kind of like the simple small things that you could do like for yourself instead of trying to achieve like big things out there and constantly trying to hit those goals. So
mm,
I think like even what you shared also is like, I really need to rethink how I even view like the things on my list. Like
mm,
what is on there? Like is it things that I'm constantly trying to achieve? Or like am I truly enjoying life, enjoying the little moments in life?
mm.
Yeah. So yeah, I just felt like I was like, whoa, like I'm reflecting upon what you said as well.
It's like this I don't know you call it a quote or saying, but it's more about the being than the doing, because we are like human beings, right? Like we are not human
ooh,
doings.
Ooh.
that's
Yeah, I
deep.
can't, I can't remember where I heard this from, but I think that also like struck me back then when I first heard it. Yeah.
Is that why you got something special?
Got what?
You got something special that will stay with you for life
What do I
because you
have?
want to you
Yes. I was
We
like,
can
oh
see
my
it, we
god,
can see it.
this is so organic.
yeah.
I was like, what do I have that I don't know? Yes, for context, I got a little um
Oh, that's good.
tattoo, but for the purpose of it being a podcast, I'm going to describe what it is. So I got a tattoo. I got my very first tattoo in Bali. So it's like a word B E in cursive, and yeah, I think, am I supposed to explain it? I think
Sure, sure.
this
Yeah.
is so uncalled for. So I think I've always been wanting like a tattoo since 3 years ago. So I think because me being practical and this is like tattoo are permanent. So I just want to make sure that I make the right choice. I'll regret it. So I've been thinking about it for 3 years, and I think for over the past 3 years, I always wanted something that, like one of the designs from Pinterest, right? Like those line floral stuff. But because the whole theme of Bali is spontaneous, so I actually decide on this word thing the night before I went for my appointment, and it was so random. But I think right now, looking at it, I think I made the best decision ever because um I think the reason why I chose this word was because like I think my 20s have been like very significant in shaping me to be who I am today. Like it's because like the decisions that like my younger self has decided to make for me right now.
Mm.
So the reason why B is also because like you believe and you become. So right now, I think at any point of my life in over the next few years, in my 30s or in my 40s or in my 50s, I just want to, you know, believe and become whoever I want to be at that point of time. Whether and also like it also like be and fill in a blank, right? Whether it's be joyful, be courageous, be whatever.
And
Yeah.
actually, your bell, right, is also BE. Yeah,
Oh.
like,
Oh, adding a new meaning.
Ha.
yeah.
Adding a new
Ha.
meaning to it's a good one. Yeah. Yeah. No regrets. Very practical.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember when you first got it and then you told us what it is. I was like, my goodness, that's like perfect. Like
Yeah.
it's
I know.
really, yeah, you made the right choice.
It took 3 years, but I think I mean if you want to talk about the lesson, it's about um the right thing will come at the right time, and I think this is the right time. So everything feels very perfect. Yay. Okay.
So
Enough
happy
of
for
me talking.
you.
I want to pass it on to Jo because I'm very curious about what she has to say.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
something you learned
Um,
this year.
lesson learned. Yeah, so I think for me it's at the start of 2022, I kind of wrote down the word joy. I think learning to grow in the spirit of joy, whether it's being joyful and I think sometimes we paint a picture of joy as like, oh, I need to be constantly happy, or I need to be constantly like like smiling and looking forward with expectation with a lot of things. But when I wrote that, I think it was also maybe after 2 years, within of COVID, where it's a lot of like routineness, and you want to be able to still choose joy even in the routineness and the mundane. So for me, when I wrote that word, and I think as I grow through 2022, it was like a choice between yeah, choosing, whether you want to be joyful, you are contented, or you want to complain. Yeah, so it's really between like a complaint or contentment. And I think through 2022, it's like it's a very active decision of choosing joy, choosing like I'm okay, like I will choose to be joyful even in like the supposedly boring stuff that I'm going through right now, whether it's at work or life, like it feels very routine, but I'll always choose joy. And I think that
Mhm.
has been throughout the year. With time tells how how actually am I really joyful. So at the same time, whenever I have to make a decision, it really kind of further supports why I choose joy every single time. Yeah,
Mm.
that's it for me. Not
Mm.
being joyful, learning to
Do
be
you
joyful.
think that you have like achieved that?
Oh wow. I think I think it's a constant like life. Um, I would say no. It's a very constant life decision as you grow older and older. So I don't think you will be at like 100% joyful
Mm.
or in some
Mm.
sense of like perfect joy.
Mm.
But I think it's in every decision that you learn to kind of really set that decision to choose. like, you know, because I think we do have a choice in certain things. When we choose joy, it's like prioritizing why. Okay, like even in the very very bad situations or in the midst of a lot of like unfortunate things, I'll still choose to be thankful lah. Yeah, right. Be joyful in what has been given to me, in terms of whatever blessings that I have, or and the time that I have also at the same time in the season that I'm in. Yeah, so why so deep? But yeah, I don't think I'm like 100% like, yeah, but I feel like as I grow older, it's learning to understand the wisdom of joy. Ooh.
So
So
deep.
deep. Oh my god, we said the same thing.
Wow.
I sound like an old grandma, you know.
Master Joe. Grandma Joe. Granny Joe.
Yeah, I'm Granny Joe.
Grandma vibes. But yeah, but it's interesting that you said we can choose joy because
Mhm,
I think the so-called the choice element comes in a lot when we talk about love, right? Like,
mhm,
to love someone is a choice, but I don't
yeah.
think people talk enough about how we can also choose joy. Like,
Mhm,
I know that it's probably very hard for some people, but
mhm,
in terms of like living out our day-to-day lives, like you can actually choose to see like the good or the bad parts in it. And yeah,
mhm.
I think it's just interesting that you brought that up because I don't really hear about people choosing joy. I don't know.
Yeah, because I think it's very easy to like, oh, you know, I'm like where I am now, like pretty much nothing is going well, or is it like, oh, I don't feel anything to maybe expect or hope for. But I think it's a yeah, it's a kind of an everyday decision, I would say. You know, I don't think you will wake up feeling one day happy, like, oh, one day I'm like, oh, I'm so happy today, and I'm gonna like do everything I want. But because there will be times where I don't feel like going to work, and and like you kind of, but then at the same time, like, do you want to bring your like dreaded self, or okay, fine, I can breathe and I am still alive, and you know that kind of decision that you make. Okay, I sound like a granny, but yeah.
I know. Whoever wants to go to work.
For HR purposes.
For HR purposes, that's a joke.
That's a joke, yes.
So Joe, any other interesting questions? Any
Yeah,
curious questions?
I'm actually very very curious. This is a bit like different from the theme. I mean, it is our pointers, but it's a bit different from like what we learned. I think I wanted to find out more about what are some things that do you stop caring about this year, like where you actually decided, you know, I'm not gonna care about this, or I'm just gonna maybe from the 2022 you realize that, oh, actually not caring about this actually made me um more fulfilled as a person, or not caring about this actually gave me time for more things and blah blah blah. So like I wanted to find out more about that. So maybe just now I asked about from Michelle. Maybe Sabby, you want to go first or next?
Oh, okay. I want to hear from Michelle, then I heard my name.
Just now I asked Michelle, so I'm like, okay, now maybe Sabby
Oh,
can go next.
sure, sure. Stop caring.
Oh, this is a hard question.
Why?
Cue
Everybody,
cue
hard.
the 10-minute silence. We'll be
gotta
right
be got,
back.
gotta be fast on my feet, right? Chop chop. Um, I think this year. Oh yes, I think I have shared with you guys before, which is so I think over the past few years, I think an area specifically is in the area of fitness. So I think ever since I started working, and that is when I started exercising. Like last time when when I'm still in uni
No
with you guys,
money.
like I don't need, yeah, no, to pay for the gym memberships. But at the same time, like I just don't exercise or I don't see a need to anyway. So I think when I started working out, and I really went all out because I think I mean, for myself, I've been working in an agency. Sorry, for HR purposes, all this is private. um, like because of the fast-paced life at agency, right? So I always find a need for myself to have an outlet. So which is why like I started to become a morning person just so that I have like that 1-2 hours of time to myself before the start of a work day because I never knew when I'm gonna knock off. So and that is why I started working out. And but I remember um because like my one of my trainers, like she always will take videos and post on social. So actually every time my social is always full of like a lot of me working out. So I remember like over the past few years I always receive like DMs on like IG from like guys or like acquaintances, or even strangers, right? That say, oh, girl, like, you girls shouldn't work out so much. You are working out too much. And like telling me how I should, live my life, basically. And I think all these comments are so uncalled for. And as much as I try to ignore, but I think they still stay at the back of my mind as much as I
Mm-hmm.
continue to do things that I enjoy. But sometimes I'll just think I'm like, oh wait, this dude say like I girl shouldn't work out so much. So maybe I shouldn't work out so much. Or even like when it comes to like the weight that I'm lifting, like okay, girl shouldn't lift so heavy. So I think this year like a change that I saw was like actually to not care about these things.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. So and really just to um enjoy what I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm.
and be in the moment. I think it could come with age because I mean I think as we age we also have lesser time to care about people who don't matter. Yeah. So I think this
That's
is
true.
like one big change for me, but I think it's a change for the better.
Mm.
And I think and at the start of the year I actually like blocked all the guys who have sent me messages. So it's like remove things like all the energy that I don't need, all the negative energy.
Wait, do you mean start of the year like today
Oh
or
no, sorry,
last
start
year?
of the last year,
2022. Okay.
2022. Yeah, it could be the
Okay.
first quarter or something. I remember there was this one day and I just sat down and I'm just like I'm gonna block everyone. Yeah.
I think I remember you sharing that with like me or us. I can't wrap my head around why do people feel the need to say such things?
And I
Yeah.
remember going to some of their profiles to, check out, right? Check them out. And they're like, they don't even work
They
out.
don't gym.
Ironic.
I
So
don't
they're just
understand.
jealous.
Yeah,
Keyboard
maybe they're just
warriors.
jealous. Yeah, this
They're
girl
just
works
jealous.
that like
Yeah.
I pale
Yeah.
in comparison with them.
Yeah. She's lifting more than me. I should tell her to stop. We've had a little change of environment because real life means technical difficulties and getting chased out of where you were at. So yeah, this is us keeping it real, right? That's the whole point. But yeah, I think we had some good thoughts about 2022, but maybe it's time to talk about, things of the new year and, I guess bringing in lessons and bringing in our experiences into the new year. So, of course, Joe,
Mhm.
it is back to you. What are you curious about? What do you want to ask us?
Yeah, I'm really curious because we are in the first day of the year, right? So then it's like a lot of new things gonna be um we have, whether it's plans or yeah, certain things that we want to do. So maybe kind of continuing on with our conversation earlier, is there anything that you want to start doing in 2023? Or it could be something that you continue or you want to continue from 2022 that you find yourself, oh, I realize maybe something that I am early, like, I'm an early sleeper and I wake up early in the morning and I want to continue to do that. So that can be something that you can actually share, or is there anything that you want to try to do in this new year? I think it can be a lot, so I'm quite curious to hear from everyone. So maybe Michelle can start first.
Wow, it feels like that waking up early, sleeping early question was so directed at Sabby,
No,
please.
no, I think it's for me too.
I've been telling Michelle that I strongly believe by the end of 2023 she'll be a morning person, and I can't remember what was the last. Oh my god, I'm claiming that for you, but I forgot. But you'll become an extrovert, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Join
I'm
me
I'm
at the
on
5 a.m. club.
I'm on the cusp of moving towards extroversion. Wow, that's actually a really good question. Uh, I think I think something that I want to it's related, stop and start. I
Mm-hmm.
think 2022 has been a year of taking a lot from my friends.
Mm-hmm.
I think the long story short is I think this year has been really challenging in its own ways. And I'm just really someone who, like the way I love on friends is to uh, offer them my time, offer them my company, my presence, and like even like gifts or like thoughtful acts of service, I suppose. That's like three love languages. But
Wow.
um yeah, but that's just how I love to love on my friends. And I feel like this year I really wasn't able to do that. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I took more than I gave, and I'm okay with that. Like I've accepted that we have seasons like that, but in some sense I felt like going back to the whole unrecognizable word for the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I lost that part of myself, and perhaps not even just this year. I think it's been a few years coming, but I think this year was the year that I really almost sort of like let go and like, like um almost like a me first. It sounds very selfish, but like really like a me first. I'm sorry, like if my choices
Self-care.
sort of, yeah, but like
Yeah.
I'm sorry my choices impacted you, but I really have nothing much to give at this point. And I mean I do, but if I do that, then there are consequences for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So 2022 really a year of really just taking, and I'm super duper grateful for the friends who have willingly given to me and not expected anything back.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you know kind of like enough is enough. I think in the new year I want to start sort of finding myself back again. Oh gosh, sounds so cliche, but um, I guess finding that part of myself that enjoys, serving my friends and loving my
Mm-hmm.
friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it might look different. Maybe it won't come in the form of like, I don't know, gifts or whatever, but I think there are some things that I just want to rediscover again. Like I used to really sit down and paint or like write cards for friends. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something I want to try to do this year. I think just being more
Mm-hmm.
intentional in, the giving back, and
Yeah.
say,
Wow.
really be intentional about celebrating occasions,
Mm-hmm.
birthdays with friends, and finding a thoughtful way to show my love, I guess. If it's
Mm-hmm.
not a gift, like what, like a card or like even a text message, right?
Yeah.
And now that we talk about being in the new year, like last night on 31st December, I I think I sent a few friends like just very spontaneous, um everything come out of my mouth, and whatever's on my heart and my brain just like came out. And I think just to thank them for their friendship and what they've done, or even like even like how, like the moments that made me realize certain things about our friendship,
Mm-hmm.
or like moments where I felt like I was proud of them, like just the small things, so um it felt really nice to do that. I didn't feel like I had to text the whole world, but I just made sure that Sabby has said before, like just to make sure that the people I love know that I love them. Yeah,
Mm.
and
Mm.
yeah, so I think we are off to a good start because I did that last night,
Wow.
which was technically last year. But yeah, we will see how the year goes. But I do want to work on that next year.
Mm-hmm.
It was so nice because I woke up to your message this morning.
Oh,
Oh.
that's so sweet. So
But I think
sweet.
I like the I just want to add on to the point on sorry I realized there are like kids again running around. Like earlier when you said something about like you're sorry to your friends that you saying no because you needed the time to yourself like has like consequences, right? But I think at the same time it's like different seasons there are different priorities. And I think you're right about the point on you can't give what you don't have. Like you said, at this point, you just need to focus on yourself. Like if you don't have more energy or more time to give to other people, and I think that's totally fine because I mean we all have like different priorities at different times, and that's how we add on to each other, right? For example, like now you're in a low, like a valley moment, and someone like one of your friends in a mountain top. So I think that's where we add on
Mm.
to each other at different seasons of our lives. Yeah.
Sorry, when you said mountain, I was like, so I'm
Joe.
Joe's Ellie.
Wow. My
Yeah.
eyes like light up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, thanks. It's really very thanks for sharing. I think it's really very it's a very precious thing that I think as we grow older, it's like we really kind of learn to treasure the little moments that we want to hold dear to, and like I think
Yeah.
learning generosity as well as being generous with
Mm.
our giving, whether is it like in the form of physical gifts or just showing concern and love to our friends and family. So
Mm.
wow, something for all of us to take away.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, for you, Sabby?
Mm, for me, there are two things that I really wanted to do. I'm just gonna keep them as minimal as possible, so like I can keep them like in the area. Like sometimes when you have too many things on your list, you just like.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the first one will really be to take more photos or vlog more,
Mm-hmm.
because I think the reason why this came about was because like after my dad and my friend passed, and I was just trying to look for like some physical tangible forms of like memories, and that was when I realized that we actually didn't take a lot of photos together. And I think if I can say so, that is like one big regret that I have in my life so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think which is why even for like the past month in December, I actually started to take a lot more random photos, whether it's like of me at a cafe, because I think I'm not sure um if it's just me, but sometimes when I look at an old photo, I can remember like the smell, the sound,
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
the emotions behind it. And it's like
Mm.
that's damn amazing. It's like a
Yeah.
2D thing, but it's a 4D or 5D memory. Yeah, so yeah, so I think in the coming year, there's one thing that I want to do, and I don't know whether I don't know the reason why, but sometimes when like the closer you are with people, the lesser photos that you take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yes, photos. I think the second thing that it's not a new concept, but I learned it during my trip to Bali, which is the idea of gratitude. Because I remember I was visiting like one of the gyms, like a boutique gym in Canggu, and before the class starts, like the instructor actually made everyone, and I think it's quite a big group. I think about 10 people, right? Like everyone to go one round to introduce yourself, and you say one thing that you are grateful for. And I think that is like I have not seen any gyms in Singapore doing that before, and I thought that was quite a refreshing idea because um as much as I did struggle to think of what to say, that time, that day.
Mhm.
But I think it changed my perspective that, hey, like even if it's something small, like I'm
Mm.
grateful for being able to be at the gym this morning. And I
Mm.
think just saying that out loud already like changed my mood instantly.
Wow.
And I think that's quite a powerful thing, I must say. Like actually whatever that I said just now, like, I'm grateful for being able to come to the gym. That was what I said in that class that day. And I felt like 100% shift in like my mood.
Mm.
So I
Wow.
think that is like one thing that I want to start doing this year. You know, like as I start my day, what is that thing, or even like as I end my day, what is that thing that I'm grateful for that day? Yeah, I think that also ties back into what Joe shared earlier about constantly choosing joy. I think putting ourselves in the position of like gratitude, and that is how it will like help direct us to joy.
Mm.
Wow.
So deep.
Deep.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, I think I didn't forget about myself this time. Uh, I think for me it's actually quite similar to the part where I shared about in 2022, like what I want to maybe what I want to learn, or is it something related, another related question. But basically I think what I want to do in 2023 is to be able to create more with my own hands, being able to touch more things, and actually creating. It could. It doesn't have to be like creating an art piece or artwork, but basically where I had the idea, or sort of the initiative to do or start doing is when I read the book Let My People Go Surfing by Yvonne Chouinard, who is the founder of Patagonia, the brand, and he is a climber, and he actually started Patagonia just by creating tools for climbers from scratch, and he had his own like backyard or like this little workshop, and he started creating, and it started selling, and he started a whole brand. So to me, it could be in that form, but creating could just even be um, actually the very simple fact, like start cooking, right, or start doing more house chores, or start doing more things with my own hands, because I think sometimes it's very easy to rely on our family at home to do certain things for us, and I think
Yeah.
for me it's like getting myself out of that seat and do it, whether is it like doing more house chores, or creating music, or getting to really put things together, um, fixing things in the house. Yeah, so I think for me that was the the creating that I want to do more, because I feel like sometimes you're always on the receiving end of a lot of things, like, oh, just absorb, but like when it comes to creating, actually I realized, oh, actually what do I touch with my hands seems um not much. Yeah, and I think in 2023 is what I wanted to kind of immerse myself into, whether is it composing music, or maybe really start to do like writing, maybe like write a bit more, or like, yeah, in that sort of line.
Our
Yes.
resident LinkedIn thought leader.
Oh, oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jo writes a lot of good stuff. She's like, I think, the few people on my feed that I would actually read what they write. Because everything else is the like so like typical inspirational corporate posts. Oh.
Yeah, and every time when I open my LinkedIn app, the first post is Joe's post. I just find it so amazing that like you can gain so many perspective to like the things that maybe mundane. So for example, I remember there was this one day I was reading one of the posts is about oh, I was using this app or platform and I find it like so useful, like kudos to the product manager or something. That was like whoa.
Yeah.
But I think in true Joe's fashion, I think you have always been like an inspiration. Okay, I don't know why I'm suddenly talking pivot to
Wow.
an affirmation,
Wow.
but I think you have always been like a person that I really admire and look up to. I'm sorry if there are like screaming kids around, but I even like things like from self-development, from like reading to writing on your Medium channel to like starting your own I don't know photo account
Oh, right.
and all your thought leadership articles write up. So I think like you have taught me a lot of stuff from me just reading or like viewing your life from the side.
Oh,
Proud of you.
you all inspire me too.
Wow,
To be more
starting
intentional.
starting 2023 strong.
Yeah, and now what? You're gonna compose your own music. Who are you? What can you not do, Joe?
Yeah.
I just
And
like,
climb to Everest base camp. A lot of
let's hope we can actually do it. I don't know.
you can do it. You can do it. I
I
love that
will
you
I
guys
will
are
look
doing
to
it.
you to complete that base camp.
I'll pull
Let's
I'll
do
pull you
it.
along. You can do it.
Yeah, see, she's using her
Push
hands
me
Oh,
push
to
me
drag
from
you
the back.
along.
so sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Exciting stuff.
Exciting stuff for 2023.
Yeah, I have to. Oh wow, we're on affirmation mode now. Like, I have to say, like, looking at both of you read so many books last year, I think I've also been very inspired to. I don't know. I think it's a very good practice because I've seen both of you grow in your perspectives and like the stuff that you say. Like Joel, like I don't just read your stuff because like it's like whoa, like my friend is writing, but I think I appreciate the growth that I'm seeing from you just read, and I'm like whoa, like I think that's inspiring because you're an example of where reading can take you, and
Mm,
like the walls that it opens your mind to. And so
mm,
like seeing that is like whoa, and like books are really worth investing, and if I ever run out of ideas of what to read, I will check both of your pages to make sure that I'm gonna like find a book from there because you guys have read it and I know it's gonna be
mm.
good. So yeah, 2023. I will stalk you guys
Yeah.
more.
I think I think how I even started reading was because of Joe. Like you inspired me to do
This has
that.
become some affirmation time.
Yeah, it was so random, but yeah, and I had so much fun. It was so funny because I at the start of 2022 I just set like what I thought was like impossible goal of reading 20 books. From like zero or maybe one or two to 20 in a year. I'm like I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna achieve that. But end up I can't remember what was the count, but it was like doubled,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I had so much fun.
Crazy. Yay!
Good job. Give yourself.
Yeah.
Pat on the back.
Give you a clap. Give you a clap. But yeah, I
Okay, I don't
think
know why we started affirming each other, but okay, we should come back.
no, I love it. I love it. Come, let me put it into perspective. I think the it's amazing to see that like from a habit that Joe has started has influenced someone else, which is you, Sabby, and like to see you achieve something you thought you could never achieve, like and appreciate it. Like it just shows like how like we can actually influence each other and for
Wow.
good lah. So I think hopefully our sharing is gonna do great things for us this year.
Sorry,
Really.
random. But I just realized there was a stray kid behind me, and the
It's
dad
okay.
just came over
He's
here.
inspired by our conversation. We got one listener who is like so inspired by us that he's ready to
keeping
just stand behind.
keeping his podcast real.
That's the point. That's the point.
He's interested in things that matter. He's gained wisdom from our conversations.
Oh my god.
Start from young.
Anything else that the year is looking uh, like for you? Like, is there any plans or things that you want to do? It could be. It doesn't have to be like it doesn't have to be like your lofty goals or whatever. But it could just be something your thought of or want to do that hopefully can inspire listeners who are listening to this podcast And yeah, they'll be inspired like, oh wow, I've heard like Sammy talk about this, and I'm inspired to exercise and wake up at 5 a.m. Every day. Um, and like for Michelle, it's like I want to be more intentional, and I want to be like more generous in the new year. Yeah, is there anything else that maybe it could be something that you have in mind, but maybe not sure of like what form yet. It also can be something that we can kind of share to kind of start the new year um, with that oh things to do and be inspired.
Hmm. Joe, do you
Okay.
have an answer?
Oh, I'm still thinking actually.
You
I
are? Okay.
just came off
Okay.
my yeah, it can be anything. It could be just a continuation of what we were sharing earlier at the same time.
Yeah, this is a real time look at Joe's mind. The places it goes.
Wait, I thought the question was what is one thing that we want to do?
It,
Did I get the question right?
Oh,
it could be
not yet, not yet. I think
yeah,
not yet.
it's not yet, but I would say maybe we can kind of link it if you what do you want to do in 2023 also. Yeah, it could be something that is um it could be based on what you've learned about yourself in 2022 and what you want to grow more and start doing in 2023. And maybe for the listeners here, are there anything else that um, you want to be, you want to try or you want to do such that, oh, they have some ideas of, oh, maybe I can try that too. Like I have friends who wants to do like stand up paddling, like our mutual friend, Wan Qi. Yeah, she wants to do stand
Oh,
up paddling, like this kind
Oh
of
my,
thing.
are you serious?
Yeah,
Oh
she
my
just
god,
want to
this is the
try,
first
and,
time
and it
I'm
can be
hearing it.
something that it's a new thing. And I think for me last year was like boxing. So I tried like boxing like
Oh,
last
so
year, like with
cute.
the gloves. So it could be something like
wow.
okay, but I didn't continue, right? I didn't continue on, but it was something that like I thought it was quite fun, just box the thing. And yeah, is there
Mm.
anything you all want to try? Yeah,
I have one. I have one.
yay, go ahead.
I guess this is gonna be a goal, I guess, but
Mhm.
I think for a few years now, I've always wanted to do a pull up,
Oh wow,
like a completely
wow.
unassisted pull up, like just I guess just to feel like wow, I actually like have the strength or the ability to do it. And I feel like this year I'm finally on the way there because I started like wanting to take care of my health more. So I
Mm,
am now currently I have signed my life away to a strength training gym. So I am
wow.
on the path to getting
I'm so
there
proud of
and
you. You are getting there.
oh thank you. But yeah, I feel like there's something to look forward to because I've wanted to
Mm,
do it for a while and I've actually set myself on that path towards
mm,
that possibility. So like I'm not gonna be like, oh, like I really want to achieve like 5 pull-ups this year, but I think it'd be really cool if at the end of the year like I can do one because I think that it just speaks about the progress I'm making. Like my money and my time is actually going somewhere. Yeah,
yeah.
so yeah, to me that's one cool thing, that
Yeah.
I wanna do.
I can't even do like a, I don't know, tiptoe assisted pull up. I'm like, okay, that's so hard. And like for
It's
you to do
super
like,
hard.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
super hard. Yeah, and I don't know if one year is possible, but yeah, we'll
So
get there
excited.
one day.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
How about
Okay.
Sabby? I'm still thinking. Sabby, is
I'm
anything?
still thinking. Then suddenly, like, I also want to do one.
This is how we say like, when we
We
inspire each
inspire
other,
each other.
literally.
Exactly.
Are you sure it's
Um,
inspiration or copy my answer?
eh, inspiration it is. Um, wow. I think they're not deep, like not deep answers, right? I have a lot, but like I don't know whether I want to put it to this year or like sometime in my lifetime. So like I've been wanting to. do learn like tennis or learn how to swim or like even to brush up on my Mandarin. Um, then look,
We've had this
my
Mandarin conversation.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, my Mandarin has not been good. I think this can be another conversation for another time. But um,
Yeah. We can have the 讲华语 campaign come and sponsor us, and we can 讲华语 the whole session, you know.
yeah, I remember
I will not
last
be
time got
here.
this, but yeah, I think okay. The reason why I can listen to Mandarin. Like if someone were to speak to me in Mandarin, I can like I can understand, but I cannot like reply you in Mandarin. So I think, and the funny thing is that last time I took higher Chinese, like in what they call it, high school, no wait, secondary school, and because of that, then when you're in college, you don't have to take Chinese anymore. I think that was when like my Mandarin started to like go downhill, because you don't practice it anymore. Well, it's a privilege, but I think it's cost me like my own mother tongue. Yeah, so I think and because like in PR, I mean for my job specifically, I get to work with like the Chinese journalists, and sometimes I feel so sorry because like when they ask me a question in Chinese, I reply in English, but they just they are fine with it, but I just feel so ashamed of myself. Yeah. Um, I think I've sidetracked. So those are like the not deep answers for what I want to do. Oh my god, the kid is crying. The not deep, the not deep answers to what I want to do in the new year. But I think the deep one, is that I think this year, I I think I was just reflecting like just last night about my year also, and I think actually if I can change my one word answer, like what is the word of the year answer previously, I think I would change it to like courage, because I think this year I took like many leaps of faith to do many courageous things that I never thought I would have done, and I find myself like it's very strange, but I just find myself like I felt so alive that like I feel like I'm starting to live my life to the fullest. And I think with that in mind, I think in the new year I also want to continue to be like courageous and do more unexpected things, but of course calculated risk, right? And I think one thing that's exciting that's coming up is of course the base camp thing with Joe. I don't know. I don't even know how that's gonna happen because we have not even like planned our training. And I mean, so far I'm just going for like walks, but I think we need a better training plan. But at the same time, I think in terms of courage, another thing that has been on my mind for a few years is actually the to relocate to a new place, because I think I've always wanted like the overseas experience, the exposure, like meeting people with different worldviews and just expanding my worldview. So um, I'm not sure how that's gonna end up or like how I'm gonna get there, but I think that is one thing that I want to do, and I put it under the courageous things because I think it's quite a big leap of faith to plug myself out of like home, out
Yeah.
of a place that I'm comfortable in, just live somewhere totally foreign, don't know like the culture, don't know the people,
Mhm.
and yeah, I hope that will come to pass. Though I don't know how that's gonna happen for now.
Wow.
It's like 5 things on the list.
Is
Yeah.
that a lot? No, no, maybe not swimming then, no tennis.
Fine.
Mandarin, Mandarin.
Yeah, yeah, maybe Mandarin first. What? Wait, now even I want to say something. 华人说华语，
说讲华语，讲华语。
讲华语运动。
Oh no.
And even like when I speak Chinese, got the weird
The
accent.
呛.
Yeah, yeah.
有些有假刚当。Oh, and translations is you eat potato.
翻译. Oh yeah.
So you eat potato means yeah, actually it's very interesting because the potato is like brown on the outside and then yellow in the
No, I
inside.
think maybe banana is the right word.
Yeah, like yeah, it's
Yellow. Yeah, yeah.
yellow.
Yellow and white inside.
Oh my god, it's just a racist remark. Later we
Oh
get
crap.
It's
reported.
just we are describing the colors of the banana. That's all.
But it's okay. We Asian. For legal purposes, we are just joking.
Oh god.
Nice. So
Mm.
inspirational.
So
Maybe
Joe,
one day
got
we
your
should
answer?
get. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
I was about to say one day we should get Zim. Zim is one of our friends who's
Oh,
so good with Mandarin that she
Yeah,
can move to China.
it's
really?
true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
All right, back to you.
For me, I think I'm in. Okay, I would say as you talk, I kind of like, oh, actually, I do have some stuff, but I
Mm.
didn't really think about it. But I did want to kind of do my masters this year. So I applied, but let's see how this goes. Not too sure whether I'll be granted entry to the program. So we'll see how that goes with the sort of the second half of the year. So that's one thing. I think another thing that I want to do, which I think I actually mentioned earlier, which yeah, I wanted to see how I can improve in my craft in music. Yeah. So I've actually enjoyed like playing music and composing, just playing random melodies. But I wanted to kind of like, oh, is there a structure that I should um go into to learn how to really compose and with that also learn a bit of like jazz music, like the genre, because it's a
Yay.
completely new genre, because and completely new as in I like jazz, but when it comes to playing it's a new type of playing, and yeah, it's quite new for me, so that's something that I want to see how this goes. Yeah, so
Exciting.
these
Exciting
are
times.
exciting times.
Look
Music.
at her. Masters, jazz
Oh,
music.
oh yeah.
Dang.
Let's see how we can do this. You guys are really also doing a lot of very inspirational stuff. Like actually swimming also, right? Swimming, even like learning Chinese. Michelle, we want to learn Chinese or like brush up for yourself.
我们可以学。
Uh, I mean, like as we were talking about the whole Mandarin thing, like I realized that like it's not say on my bucket list, but something I want to work towards also is possibly like learning like a new language.
Mm,
Uh, and I'm sorry, it's not Mandarin.
it's Korean, right?
Yeah, Korean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we learned it like I did take classes like in uni, but I've like kind of given back like 80%, but
Yeah.
I find it so fascinating that like till today there are just some words that you kind of understand. So they can be talking about a lot of things, in a K drama, but I'll pick up on like little words like words for like school, reading, the toilet, like very random things. So there's like that little bit of like retainment that I have, but
Mm,
like to really go to a level where you're like fluent or I can
yeah.
watch shows without subtitles, like that would be really cool. So maybe not for this year, I don't
Mm,
know, because when as adults you realize a lot of things cost money.
yeah. It is.
Yeah, so
It
there are
is.
many many things that I would love to do, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's okay to pace ourselves
Yeah.
and
Totally.
file it for some time in the future.
Mm-hmm.
It would be quite cool if since you like to go to Korea, it'd be quite cool if next time you can go there and you just speak like a local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. So actually, on that note, like I mean, actually, I want to talk about it, but I also forgot. But I actually have been taking Korean lessons for the past
Ah.
how many years? But Yeah, I'm
Sunshine
always,
meme.
yes, yeah, and it's like on a weekly basis. So um,
Oh
it's
wow! Oh my
it's
God,
just
Joe.
yeah, and I think for me, it's the hard part is always replying back. Like I think something similar to what Sabby said, right? You can understand what people are telling
Yeah,
you, but when it's reply,
yeah,
I'm like, you know, I'm always kind of like,
yeah.
okay, I can
It,
understand what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. So I think that for me actually this year is something I've always put it in my list, but I just never really go and like really focus on doing it. So that also is something.
I want to ask a spontaneous question, but I think it's an easy one. Because I think now we are talking about like the different things that we want to do,
Mm,
and we know like as working adult, how stuff we can be we can get. How do you guys, or like what would be a tip that you guys can give to like the people who are listening to this, how can we do things outside? Because I think like as adults we have to juggle work, juggle like friends,
Mm.
juggle family, and juggle I don't know how hobbies, and like juggle your self time, your me time, right? How do you guys find time to do like learn Korean, learn music composing, whatever?
That's not an easy question.
yeah,
Oh, is it? Oh.
it's not an easy question.
Mm.
Um, okay, but yeah, somehow I can answer it now. Uh, I I mean, so for myself, I started this whole gym thing about a month ago, and I realized that if you want something to work, you just have to prioritize that, and you just have to. It sounds a bit sad, like I'm gonna sound like a gym rat, but you just have to like plan your life around that important thing. Yeah. So I think in terms of oh gosh, I'm like turning into Sabby right now. She's like really, really like wanting me to join the 5 a.m.
You
club.
can join me at the 5 a.m. club.
Yeah, but I like for example, like if I want a social life at night or I want to meet friends for dinner, I can't like and I don't want to skip gym. I can't be like, oh, like I have to figure out a way to meet friends at night and then squeeze in gym somewhere in the day, and like you just end up having to be like, you know what, like gym takes priority, and so it's either I go in the morning or I say no to friends.
Mm,
Yeah, and I feel like I think it applies to like a lot of life. Like if you want to make something happen or if it's important enough for you, you just gotta kind of plan your life around it. And I think also like a bit of a you know like sidetrack, but I realized that it also doesn't come easy because maybe at a certain stage in life you just don't value certain things at that point, and it's okay, but like making that shift to plan your life around something involves like a perspective and a value shift as well. And I don't know, but I think this year like I could have done it easily a few years ago, but I think in terms of like values and like what I see is important, like like for me, going to the gym is really actually to deal with chronic pain. And like
mm,
if my chronic pain is important enough to be dealt with, then I better get my butt to the
mm,
gym because
yeah.
yeah, I just don't want to be living in pain, right? And so I go and like suffer elsewhere to solve my chronic pain. Yeah, but yeah, it's not gonna happen unless you have sort of a value perspective shift. So
Mm,
easier said than done. I think yes, you gotta have your life revolve around that thing, but do you even value that thing enough? Or like do you even know why you're doing it? Because if you don't, then it's very hard to like kind of like turn your life around to suit that. Yeah.
mm.
So I don't even know what the question was, but yeah.
The tip that you
Yeah,
that you
that's my
yeah.
tip, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that ties in nicely with what you shared earlier about prioritizing self care and making sure that you are like at your 100% before you give to the people around you, right? Yeah.
Mm.
So the point was, I think self-care is not selfish or something like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but yeah, in terms of making time for these things outside of like work and stuff, I think is to see what you truly value or what's important to you. Yeah.
Wow.
What
So,
about you, Joe?
um, for me, I think the one thing is more of a I would say plan, right? But I also kind of um leave room for some flexibility in that sense, which I think we kind of touched on a few points earlier on planning and being more spontaneous, which I think for me, I try to plan ahead, and sometimes can be actually months ahead because, not sometimes because you have no choice, but when you have like certain other commitments, whether it's like volunteering or is it family or church, I think it's once I kind of put that in my calendar, and then I kind of prioritize that for the person, unless there's some reasons where you have to kind of reschedule. And
Mm.
I think that's in terms of the planning side of things. And I think then also leads to the point where Michelle was talking about like self care. I think if you are not in that position of being rested or being full, right, then it's very hard for you to give. So
Mm.
so I think for me it's that when you give yourself that time to be rested, and then somehow you can actually be more willing or more it's easier for you to give to others. Oh, I have this deja vu, but yeah, give to others, and leave time for the little things. Yeah. And
Mm.
I would also recommend this book. Okay, this can have another podcast
Book
session. It's
club.
called yeah, it's called a Give and Take. I'm not too sure whether you've heard of it. Give and Take by Adam Grant. I
Yes.
think
Oh my gosh, I
that's
read that.
that's my favorite book from his list. Yeah, it's on also about generosity and how about giving as a whole. So
Mm.
I feel like when you come from a point where you are rested also, then it's also easier for you to coming from a mindset of giving, you want to be able to prioritize certain things that you want to do every week, but at the same time also set aside time for yourself
Mm.
to rest. Um, and yeah, and then I think for me, it's learning to know what works for me, and then tweaking accordingly to that. Yeah. So for example, like Sabby, you were saying, you wake up at 5 a.m. for your time to slot in, right? And then what that works for you, and then how you then slot in other stuff throughout the day. So I think that can be another way that you do it.
Mm.
How about for you,
Good
Sabby?
stuff.
Mm, I think you guys have summed up nicely. Um, I think the main idea that you guys have brought up, it's prioritize, right? Like, I can't remember what was the exact quote before. I think I was just like throwing out quotes randomly. I can't remember what was the exact quote, but I say something like, it's not about not having time, but it's just that it doesn't matter. It's not important to you. So
Mm.
I think what's on your calendar, it's also there are also things that are important to you, right? If not, why are they even there in the first place? Like, why does it worth your time and your effort, or even like to wake up in the morning to do something if it's not worth your your I don't know, like, it's not important to you. So I think, but at the same time, um, I don't want to paint like a nice picture that there are no sacrifices, because I think at the start when I mean before I start to get into this whole daily workout thing, I think I had to sacrifice a lot of things. So for example, because I have to, wake up early, that means I have to sleep early, which means that I have to sacrifice a lot of like time with friends. Have to make sure that when I'm at work, that whole 8 hours, or sometimes I mean when I OT, you say until 7 p.m. and that whole few hours that I'm at work, like I really maximize it, so I don't have to work super late, and I don't have to, because I think one
Mm.
thing leads to another. Like I have to OT, then I shower, then like end up I don't sleep at 12 maybe. So I think it's about like being right at the moment at where you are doing. I mean, when you're doing something, just make sure that you're 100% there. But at the same
Mm,
time, in terms of sacrifices, I think at the start, when I was when I started this fitness journey, I think it was very hard for me because I would have to I have said a lot of no's to people on for like weekdays dinner. So which means that every month I can only meet like 8 people because that's like 8 weekends. Right? Yeah, so I think sometimes I feel a little sad because like oh shit, like I don't have social life, or like am I even doing this? Is this even the right thing to do? So I think there were a lot of like questions and self doubt as well. But I think what's more important is really to recognize like what is your priority in that particular season of your life that you want to put this on your calendar, whether it's a workout, whether it's to start reading, like pick up reading, or to learn whatever languages you want to learn, or even like spending time with family. Yeah,
mm,
priority, yes. But at the same time, I realized that as we get older, I mean, as much as our circle gets smaller, but I can't remember whether it was Joe or was it Michelle that you guys mentioned this word like filter. So I think like when you set your priorities right, you also at the same time like filter what is important to you in your life as you get older. Because I think as much as like when you say no to someone, those who eventually matter, or like those close friends that eventually matter, they will be the one who will stay with you for the rest of your life. Yeah.
mm. Wow. Oh, lots of deep stuff going
I
on.
don't even know what is the main point, but yes, priority.
Yeah, I love that. Uh, well, I think we've like spoken so much that this could be a whole separate episode. But yeah, maybe it's a good time to, I think, just following up on what Sabby said about, identifying things that are important. I think there's really a ton that 2022 has given us. And I think in the spirit of what this podcast is about, which is things that matter,
Mm.
maybe we can, just I guess just share like if there's anything that stuck out to you that you are like, wow, this is really the most important thing that I've learned, or this is an important thing that I will um cherish, moving forward. Like it could be from last year, it could be what you want to bring in to the next year. Just that one main thing that you're like, oh, like I really, really need to ground myself with this, like, information, or this thing, and not forget it because it's really, really important. Um yeah. I am very happy to go first, so you can think.
Great.
But yeah, I think for me, it's amazing because like you have a whole year to learn things, and yet like this important thing to me only came up in like December, the last month of the year. And I think for me that is health is like truly, truly wealth, and it's so important to preserve, like, the strength or like the health that we have. So um like this year, honestly, I fell sick, or I was on the verge of falling sick many, many times. And there was the whole back and forth of, is it COVID, is it not? And up to the point that I actually got COVID, I would say. I think I had these close shaves like 3 4 times, and it was truly frustrating because I felt like I couldn't do a lot of things for a couple of days. And with, like, everything easing up, it almost felt like, maybe it was my perspective, but it felt like people were not gonna be so receptive to the whole, like, oh, I don't feel so well. Oh, then, with COVID, people will be like, please go home, don't come here. But it's hard to have that kind of concession or understanding when, like, illnesses manifest in other ways. So for example, like mine was like really bad random headaches. I would have a random fever that will appear and it'll go away, and just all these things you just don't feel good. And then I had COVID, right? And it took forever to recover from that. And I guess the last straw was in December when I came down with a flu, and it was even worse than COVID, and I'm still not fully recovered from it. And there were just so many things that made me feel like I couldn't do things for myself. I couldn't enjoy life. Um, Even simple things like being so fatigued or so like unstable on my feet that like I actually freaked out at escalators, like one of the days when I was really not feeling very good and I was out, and I was like, my goodness, like how did I just get anxious over trying to get on an escalator? And it just I just spiraled so much, like from these little things. And I wasn't eating well, and so I had no energy, and it just keeps piling on. And I think it really made me realize how important it is to stay healthy so that we can just do all these things that we talked about, right? Like, brushing up on your Mandarin, um, like learning like jazz music. Like, you just won't be able to do that if you are not feeling like good, like, and like you
Yeah,
are healthy. Like, there's just we can't do any of
really.
that, yeah,
Yeah,
if you're not
that's true.
healthy. Yeah, so I think that for me is gonna be something that I'm gonna hold very tightly to. So yes, I'm going to gym now, so that's like a check. But like what else can I do to ensure that I, stay as healthy as possible? And I think that is something that I now start thinking about when it comes to like family and like friends. Like it's like it's just very important, and I think we neglected a lot in the name of doing
Mm,
things and achieving things.
yeah.
So not just physical health, but I think mental health also. Like coming out
Mm,
of the pandemic, it doesn't mean like that that part is over, but it doesn't mean that the funk like in our minds, or like the heavy sinking feeling that we have, like it's gonna go away at the same time. So um
mm,
yeah, I think it's very, very, very important just to stay healthy so that we can enjoy the things that life has to offer.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Random, but I was just thinking about that this morning. When I mean, I do notice that my body has changed quite a bit. I don't know whether it's because of aging or because I'm just lazy, but yes, I do
But
see the
she's
changes
lazy. We
now.
are like, we are just on the bed.
Yeah, like sagging skin. I don't know.
Oh
It's so
my.
weird to talk about these things, but okay.
Women and growing old.
Yes, but
Growing old.
health is wealth. What about
Yes.
you, Joe?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Michelle said. Yeah, health is really well. I think like really without health, we really cannot do a lot of the things that we want to do. Um, I think for me is I think another thing is you a lot of things you cannot control. Yeah, I think that's one thing that as much as we want to plan a lot of things, there will be things that will not be according to what we have in mind or in plan, or even nothing is planned out, but something one day you may actually uh, meet somebody, right? It can be in this statement it could be something positive, it could be something negative. Like nothing is actually really really according to plan if we really think about it. Like we can
Hmm.
plan as a human, right? But like one day if you cross the traffic light, anything can happen. I mean, let's not uh, go too unfortunate stuff, but I think really nothing in life is something that we can um, plan. So I would say it's a kind of a gratitude mindset that as much
Hmm.
as we can plan a lot of things, we can be also thankful, and whatever comes, we will have to choose where we want to or what kind of state we want to be in. Yeah, it has doesn't it could be joyful, it could be different emotions, but um yeah, it's that uh we can kind of, as we face different challenges in life, we can make different decisions and also be easy on ourselves. Yeah, don't be too hard
Mm.
on ourselves. Yes, that's for me.
Yeah. Wow. That's actually very similar to what I would want to sum up for myself. I think going back to my earlier point, I mean, it's unfortunate that sometimes we learn lessons in life through hard ways. But I think with like death from 2022, I think what has stuck with me, and I think for the next few years or even for the rest of my life, I think it's really to seize the day and really live my life to the fullest. Um, yeah, I remember recently I read um another quote. I'm full of quotes. I don't know why. But it was something about um we are not when we start something new, whether it's like a new year or like a new job or whatever, we are not starting from scratch, or we are starting from experience. So I think going to 2023, like if, as much as this whole like hype about, oh, it's a new year, like new year, new you, new year resolutions and all those stuff, but at the same time I think um what we learn in 2022 will stay with us to the new year. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
I love that. Well, we are very, very quickly running out of time, but yeah, I think it's been a good chat. I think we have learned so many things from each other as well, even in this short time. I think we're surprised by, each other's answers as well. So hopefully it is a good one, an encouraging one to kick off the year. So thank you for listening and being with us. If you survived up to this point, you'll realize that things that matter also stands for talk too much. But
Oh
sorry,
yeah, I forgot
sorry.
whether we have mentioned it to the listeners before.
Okay, it's an Easter egg if they made it this far. But yeah, thank you, Joe, for joining us.
Thank
It
you.
won't be
Mm.
the last time, but we're
Yeah.
so happy to have you.
Thank you for
And
having
yeah,
me.
all right. I think we can say bye now. Thank you for
Bye
Bye.
everyone.
listening.
Thank you for
See you
listening.
at the next episode.